I grew up in Southeast Virginia. I was the youngest of three girls, the daughter of an Air Force pilot and a stay-at-home mom. But my mom moved to Virginia after my dad was killed in Vietnam when I was 6 years old. So she raised us as a single mom. And I think watching my mom and really learning from her resilience and strength, I think it taught my sisters and me really kind of a fierce independence and a fearlessness to really challenge other people's expectations of what is possible. Moving to Westfield was somewhat of a happy accident. I happened to be dating my college sweetheart who happened to be in Westfield. And I said, okay, I'm gonna stop here while I look for my apartment in New York City. And 10 months later, we were engaged. I fell in love with Westfield, and we had our first child, Grace. I think having a child really made me value kind of the community of Westfield and what a great place it was to raise a family. I chose to retire from HBO last year after 27 years to pursue a chapter in public service. As much as I love and am so proud of my HBO career, I felt like I had to set an example for really using that success I had and pay forward in a more meaningful way. And I didn't really know what that chapter 2 was going to look like, but it did give me the opportunity to spend more time in town. And it prompted me to really see some of the challenges that our town was facing, all related to what I saw as a culture of complacency and really a lack of imagination about solutions to some of our challenges. As someone who led an organization through a lot of change and drove a lot of growth and innovation, that I felt that maybe the best opportunity to put my skills to work were right here in my own backyard. This is a great town, and actually it's not about changing things as much as about building upon the successes that we've already had. The first thing I think we need to do is really create a town governing culture that's reflective of the spirit of our community, that's open, inclusive, collaborative, and means a significant amount of transparency that doesn't exist today. And that means open applications for all the board positions to make sure that those committees reflect the makeup of our town. There's so many tools that are available to us now that can actually invite citizens to actively participate in the government, whether it be social media or digital town halls. When people don't show up at zoning meetings or they're not protesting certain teardowns, it's not because they don't care, it's because they don't feel like their voices matter. So we need to go back to actually creating an environment where people feel like they are heard and their voices matter. The second thing I would do would really be challenging our budget. Sometimes when you've been in a position for a long time, you can't see what you can't see. And sometimes you need fresh eyes to come in and really ask, why are we doing it that way? We talk a lot about the AAA bond rating, and I know that's really important, but at the end of the day, one of the questions I have is why have we accumulated a $12.5 million surplus? When roads aren't paved and we have infrastructure that needs to be supported. I would also say, our taxes since 2005, when our current mayor first was elected, have gone up over 65%. And I would argue as a resident that the value for our tax dollars has actually diminished in that time. One of the big challenges is how do we grow revenues, non-tax revenues, in a way that we can actually create and improve services to the town. Fanwood has a contractor that they pay $2,500 a month to fund grants for them. And so for $2,500 a month, that contractor has secured over $2 million in grants for Fanwood. And I would say that's a really, really good return on investment. The third thing I would talk about is really charting a vision for our future. And what that really means, I think it's time to re-examine the master plan. And what we need is a roadmap for our town, whether it's 5, 10, 15 years out, that solves for retail, revenue, and parking. I've talked to a lot of commercial brokers about just what our environment is. Why are towns around us thriving when Westfield seems to be, going the other direction in terms of vacancy rates and so forth? And what I've been told is Westfield does not have a parking solution for those businesses. And what we really need is this vision for creating, these days, what they call a live, work, play environment. And the last thing is really being a champion for quality of life issues. one-seat ride and being a vociferous advocate for that, especially being a 22-plus year commuter. I can appreciate the hardships a bad commute has on people and can also appreciate the benefit to property values. I mean, you could imagine environments where Quimby was closed and there's the farmer's market, or there's just this vibrancy that's there all the time. And I do believe that people are yearning for it. We're only capped by our own imagination of what could be. And I do believe that once we can collectively agree on what this vision looks like, you'll start seeing investment come back to the town. It's not going to take years, but what it does require is a fierce advocacy for our town. I actually think our choice in November is very clear. It's about what choice do you want for Westfield's future? Do you want proactive leadership or do you want reactive leadership? Do you want an engaged culture or a complacent culture? Do you want progress or do you want status quo? I don't want to be the mayor of the status quo. And as a resident, I'm not comfortable with the status quo. I hope you'll come out to vote for me on November 7th. Let's do this.